Welcome to the next lecture of the HTML tutorial. In the previous lesson, we had seen some of the main formatting tags that we can use with the HTML. In today's lesson, we will talk about working with images. So let's check what options we have to add an image into the web page. An HTML web page, we can use images, and images can be added to the that HTML page with the help of this img tag. The img tag is used to add images on the web page, and img tag is an empty tag, which means it can only contain a list of attributes and it has no closing tag. So we need to only use this opening tag, and we can use some necessary or important attributes with the image to make the image look much more better. So let's see what are the attributes of the image tag we can have. The main attribute is the src attribute, where we have to specify the source of the image. So let me show you how we can add the image to the web page. Let's say I'm creating a new web page. This is the simple structure. I have opened this with the HTML document, then with the head tag, then I have supplied a title tag, then I have closed this head tag, and now I'm opening the body tag, and inside this body tag I'm going to add the image. So let me use this image tag, and with this image tag I'll use src. Inside this src I'll have to specify the URL of the image. So let me get some image. It is always advisable to store the image into the same folder where you have this file. So I have stored this file with the image example.html. So in the same I have another image that is known as tl.png. So you can see both the files are on the same location. So I'm using this tl.png. So you can write tl.png. So this is the URL of the image, basically the name with the extension, and I'll press on Ctrl S, and then I'll execute my web page. So let me show you how the output is coming. We can see that this is the web page. As the image is very large, so we can see that there are scroll bars onto the web page. To manage this, we need to use some more attributes into the image tag. So let's add some more attributes. Those are width. So we need to specify the width. Let's say I'll specify width to 100%, and then I'll need to add height. Let's say I'm using the height as 500, right? And I'm pressing on Ctrl S, going back and refresh this page. So now you can see that now this is 100% width onto the web page and 500 with the height. I can also reduce this width. Let's say if I don't want this width to be full page width, I can use 50%. I can use 50%. So now you can see that this is only on the 50% of this web page. So this is the use of the width and the height attribute. I can also align this image into the center with the help of the center tag. So I can use center tag just before the img tag, and I'll close this center tag just after the img tag, and you can see that the image is in the center. So this is very useful to create a banner of your websites. So we used to create the banner. Let me change the size to 70%, and let me reduce the size a little bit more to 400. This will be a much better banner of your web page, right? So this is the image insertion we can do. Let's see what are the other attributes that we can apply with the image tag. We have source attribute, we have seen, just to supply the URL of the image. Alt attribute, yes, the alt attribute we can use here. So inside the alt attribute we specify some text that will explain the image. So let me write logo. So I'll click on save, and I'll click on refresh, and you can see if the image is not present, let me see, just because of some browser error and some browsers do not render the image, or if there is some problem inside the image in displaying, let me change this, and now you can see I have not written the name correctly, so the image will not display. And when the image is not displayed, you can see this is the text inside the alt is here. So this is basically an alternative whenever your image is not loaded by the browsers due to some reason. So this text will help the user to know that what is here in place of the image, or what kind of image is here. Let's see what are the other tags we can use. We can use the style tag to style the image. We can use the border tag. Now let's go and see the border tag. Let me apply the border to this particular image. So let me correct this and let me add border to this image. Let's say if I add border is equal to 2. So now let me show you. Right, so this was actually the border is also black and the image was also black, so we'll not be able to identify. Let me change the border color. That can be done with the help of the style attribute. So let me use the style attribute. Style is equal to border color, and let me specify the color to something. Let's say if I give yellow color, so now you will be able to see this border. Right, so this is the border. We can increase the thickness of this border by changing this value of the border attribute. We can make it more thick. So this is more thick border, and we can change the color of this border of the image. So this is how we can use the border color. We can also change the border corners. Let me show you how we can do this. We can do this with the help of styling attribute. So let me add the border radius. If I add border radius and let's say if I supply 50 px, so the border radius, what will happen? You can see the corners are now this the border radius. Okay, if I change this from 50 px to let's say 50%, and if I go back, so the corners are much sharpened. So this is how we can change the shape of the image with the help of this border radius. If I want to look at like 20%, so you can see that this is something like this. So now we can change the corners of the image to make it look much better. We can experiment with this border radius. It is always advisable to supply such parameters into the percentage because of the responsiveness. Let me show you why I am saying that I should use this into the percentage. Just let me show you. Let's say width. I have specified the width in percentage 70%. Just because of this 70%, when we will see this web page into the mobile, and this will be something like this, but you can see the image is adjusted accordingly, right? Just because we have used width into the percentage form. So either we'll see into the mobile or we see into desktop, the image will adjust automatically. Right, now you can see. Let's say if we don't specify this into percentage, then what will happen if we don't specify? And let's say if I write this into 500 px, that is the px. So now you can see this is the image, but once I change this, you can see we have lost some part of the image, so the image is not completely visible. So this is the difference, and you can see now the distance is also changing. So this is the difference why we should use the parameters in percentage form, just to make it responsive. Responsive means it should look good in all the devices, it should look good in PC, it should look good in mobile. So that's why we should use in percentage. So let's see what else we can supply with this. We can do the alignment of the image just with the help of the align tag, like we have done with the border tag. We have already done with the help of this center tag. Now what we can do is we can animate the image, we can use the image as a link. So how we can use the image as a link? Let me add the link. It's simple. We can simply add the anchor tag. We need to specify the place where we want to send this. So this is anchor tag just before the image, and I'll close the anchor tag just after the image. So I'll specify the, let me connect this with some other web page. Let's say I'll connect this with first.html. So I'll mention first.html. Basically this is the URL of the other object. So once I'll save, I'll refresh, and now you can see just by clicking on the web page I went to some other page. You can go back, you can see this is the link on the image. So I'll click on the image and I'll go somewhere else. So this is how we can convert an image into the link. Now what else we can do? We can add the image as a background. If I want to add the image as a background, I need to specify this into the body tag. So I'll do this background and I'll specify tl.png. We can also add this as a background to some division, some sections, to inside the table, at many places, but currently, so you can see the image is added in the background as well. So now you can see the border and image. Okay, so that is how we can add the image into the background of the web page. But now let me eliminate this background. What else we can do with the image? We can do a lot of things. We have changed the border, we have changed the shape of the image. Yes, we can do the shading also. So let me show you the shading, how we can perform shading onto this image. For that we'll use styling attribute, that is box shadow. So we'll use box shadow. We'll supply 3 parameters to this box shadow. One is this is 10px, this is 10px, and the third one is the color of the shadow. Let me use gray and come back to this place, click on reference. So now you can see this is the shadow, right? This is the shadow. So the color of the shadow is gray, and the other 2 parameters are just the axis parameters. If I change this first parameter, let's say from 10 to 50, so it will move on to the x-axis. You can see, right? So this is 50, and if I convert this from 50, if I change to, let's say, if I reduce, I had 10, let's say I'll specify minus 50. So you can see it is like this. So it's moving on to x-axis from here to this position. We can vary the position, and the next one is for the y-axis. Let me reduce this to 10 points. Now if I'll change this to 50, this will be the y-axis. So you can see this is on to this lower side, and if I'll change from this 50 to minus 50, the shadow will go up. You can see this is. So these are the 2 axes. We can manage the image onto the x-axis as well as onto the y-axis. If I supply 10, 10 and gray, so this is something like this. It's more looking like a shadow. So this is how we can give shadow to our images. So let me specify this opacity inside the style, and let me give the opacity 50%. So if I want to make this 50% opaque, so you can see this is the result, 50% opaque. I can increase and decrease the opacity. Let's say if I increase the opacity, I make it 90%, and I'll go back and refresh. So you can see this is not that much opaque. And if I decrease this and I'll go to, let's say, 20%, then if I'll come back and I'll click on refresh, you can see it's more opaque, it's more transparent. So this is how we can create the opacity into the images. So we can do a lot of things with the help of this image. We have seen how we can do image as a link, image as a background, image as border, image. We change the shape of the image, we add the shading, we have used the opacity, made the image transparent. We will use this animation into our upcoming next lecture. So tune into the coming lectures so that we will be able to see how we can animate the images as well. So that's it for the today's lecture. Thank you so much.